Welcome to another episode of moTV. I'm so excited about this evening. We are going to moMondays London, where we are going to feel the buzz behind moMondays London. We're going to meet Kevin Bulmer, one of his favorite speakers. So grab a drink, stick around, go grab dinner, whatever you want. Be right back here in exactly 12 seconds. All right, guess what we've got here? Yeah, Mr. Kevin Bulmer, how are you, sir? Did you
Terrific.
see?
You are looking good. Do you know, I don't even have one of those. I think I might have given you my last one.
So what we have here is No Schedule Man t-shirt. I put it on just in honor of this guy. And what do you think?
Did you do the wardrobe change in 12 seconds or less?
I absolutely did. And do you know how many times I had to practice it?
I wouldn't even want to hazard a guess, and I'm impressed regardless.
Well, good for you. Listen, here's what I want to tell people who are watching, listening, tuning in. First of all, put in the comments. Let us know that the audio is okay. Put in the comments that you can hear us and see us. Put in the comments that you're excited to be here. We've got Sasha from somewhere in northern Germany saying, "Hey, what? It's like 2 o'clock in the morning for him," and he's saying hello. Hey, there you go. And let us know where you are tuning in from, and if you've got a question that you want me to ask Mr. Bulmer about the amazing moMondays that he has in London, put it in the comments and I'll pass it on. Mr. Kevin Bulmer, welcome to moTV.
Thank you. Thank you. It's nice to see you.
So I have to tell you, I've been to, first of all, I mean, moMondays London has a big history. I mean, it's been going on for a long time. You were, I don't know, I think the third or fourth moHost to take it over. One of them was a group of three, and it's been going for some time. It has an incredible reputation, and then you come on the scene.
Everybody holds their breath before seeing what he says next. Go on.
Well, wait, I'm reading the comments. Somebody said, audio is fine, picture is great, Kevin looks better.
Oh, gosh. Wow.
Oh, my. All right, Kevin, let me ask you this. You hold moMondays at the
London Music Club.
London Music Club, which itself has a storied history.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does.
And I remember way back when you and I were first talking about you taking over moMondays London, and you called me up. You were so excited, and you were saying, "Michel, I think I have the perfect venue. You're going to love it." So tell us about it. Why do you love it? Why do you think it is so aligned with who we are as moMondays and what you do and what you're all about?
There's an energy that oozes out of the walls of that place that comes, I think, from first and foremost the people who own it, Pete and Janice Denemy, who you've now met, Michelle, and I just adore those two, and all of the artists that have come through. There are 3 different rooms that you can perform in at various different levels of capacity, like sizes at this facility. We are in what they call the big hall. And there have been countless musicians, improv groups, theater groups, corporate functions, just a lot of artistry and creativity go through there over the years. And I've always felt like you could feel it. It's got a really intimate feeling. It's big enough that it feels big. We've got the lights and the stage and a really great professional level PA, but it's close enough so that everybody feels connected even when it feels big. At least that's the comment that I've had from a lot of people.
I think it is the perfect size venue. I've been there a couple of times. I love it. I love it. Now, listen, Mr. Kevin, take me back. I know you and I spoke for several months before you actually said, you called me up, you said, oh, I'm thinking about it, and then you and I had many talks and coffees and this and that, and I never push anybody to do it, as you know, but take me back to your thinking process. What was going through your mind when you said yes?
Well, there were a few different things at play. One was that I was at a point in the development of my own professional journey. I was just a couple years past having left my last full-time job at a group of radio stations here in London, and had just been kind of flailing around doing my own thing as a speaker and as a coach, and trying to work through things. And I couldn't get arrested here in London. All the work that I was finding was anywhere but the town that I was from. And I think to a large degree, Michelle, people here in London that I know me for other different parts of my career, which is fair. As I had been doing that work, it had become really clear to me that the thread that runs through everything that I do is just being real, being authentic, being genuine, being human, not going out of your way to just copy or clone something else, whether that's just in life or in business. And through my podcast and other things like that, I'd really been exploring, somewhat by accident, to be honest with you, just the genuine interest that I have in other people and their stories and what we can take from that. And so when it became clear that moMondays London, as it was constructed, was not going to continue, I thought, well, I was curious enough to reach out to you. And you mentioned the music club. I knew that if there was no music club, there was going to be no Kevin. I was sure about that. And I have a history with that place as well. So as those things began to fall in line, it all just lined up. And I remember we met, it was either November 4th or 5th of 2018 for lunch in Milton. And where you filled me in on what it would involve. And I remember driving back to London that night, doing everything I could, Michelle, to try to talk myself out of it. Kevin, you don't have the time. You don't have all of the reasons why I shouldn't be doing it. But that universal tap was just turned on too strong. I couldn't deny it. And now here we are.
Well, let me tell you something. I love the way that you inject yourself into the show. You know what? I want to show something to people. Hang on. That's not it. That's not what this is what it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, so you're not the only one who does wardrobe changes in live events. Yeah, you were in the room for that one. That's a train whistle in my left hand there.
Yeah. I mean, I think what I'm hoping people could see from this is just, you're fearless. I know none of us is truly fearless, but you're fearless. You throw yourself, like you are the epitome of someone who leaves it all on stage. Let me bring you back now. Hopefully I'll hit the right button. There we go. You're the epitome of someone who just puts it out there, gives himself or herself 1,000%, and just leaves it all there. And I think you've had such an amazing, consistent momentum in terms of the audience that comes out month after month after month after month. And what I tell everybody is that half of it is the concept of moMondays and the basic formula that we put around it, but half of it is the energy that the moHost puts into it.
Well, you're very kind. Thank you. Seeing those pictures reminds me of how much I miss it.
Oh.
I miss it.
Well, now would be an appropriate time for people who are tuning in and watching. Start a watch party. Invite some of your friends to watch, and because we're going to keep talking with Kevin for another few minutes while he composes himself. Yes! How you
Well,
doing?
that's what happens is when it's genuine and it's
Oh,
sincere. I think that people can pick up on that, even if what you're doing may or may not resonate with some people. I've always felt like if you come to one of our events, whether you like what I'm doing or whether you don't, I don't ever want you to be able to leave without having the impression of going, well, at least like he cares. He's sincere.
and you
Whatever
and
he's
you
doing,
you
he
so
means it.
do. You so do, Kevin. So,
Yeah.
I have learned things from watching you perform and the way you set your show up. The way everybody. That's one of the things that I love about running moMondays overall is I get to see what everybody does, and everybody does something a little bit the same and a little bit different. And my God, sometimes say I wish everybody would do that, and I get the benefit. Let's talk about your first 6 months because we see how much energy that you throw of yourself onto the stage, sometimes quite literally. Oh, I was looking for I was looking for the shot of you tearing off that T-shirt. So for the people in the audience, let me just tell you, this is the first show I go, and he's there and he's doing this bit, and then all of us, and he's wearing a T-shirt, and on the T-shirt are all these things like self-doubt, lack of confidence. What are some of the other things? Or
No,
that
it
was
just was in big letters, self-doubt. I had it
self-doubt.
written as large as I could, hoping that people would be able to read it.
Yeah, and then his voice starts getting a bit louder, and he literally. I'm not going to do it with this T-shirt because
No, 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 don't do that. It's a collector's item then.
This is your last one. He
Yeah.
obliterated the T-shirt on stage. It was brilliant. It was brilliant. Now I know this, but not a lot of other people know this. Talk about how much energy that you put out on and leave on stage. Uh, your first 6 months. Tell us about that roller coaster.
Wow. That's exactly what it was. I remember you telling me when I got started, give yourself about 7 months. Usually takes new hosts about 7 months to get their legs underneath them. And I went, and I've told them that you do it in 3. Well, just prior to the third one, I had just a total emotional meltdown. And I think that what had happened was, I know now in hindsight that what happened was that the real me was bubbling up so much that this sort of ceiling of my own self-doubt and limiting beliefs and what I could do and how I could reach people and what I was capable of was being challenged by this real Kevin that was just bursting to get out. And after the first couple of events, after, again, struggling, quite frankly, to make inroads as a speaker and a coach, that I had people in this environment that I could control somewhat, as you've seen with how we structure the events, and we use music and we run a pretty tight ship. And it was powerful. And I remember thinking, I think I might be more powerful than I than I thought I was. And it kind of blew my circuits. And so at the beginning of April, so we ran our first show in February of 2019. February, March, we had great events. Going into April, I really kind of struggled, Michelle, because I didn't quite know how to process all that. I remember April.
So wait a minute. You say process all that.
Yeah.
Okay, what do you mean? You mean the impact that you're having on the community, the impact, the energy that comes back to you. What do you mean by all that?
All of it. And just that I was experiencing, and I continue to, my own version of what people experience when they get this notion of, I think I'd like to try that, and I don't even know why I feel pulled to it, but I do. And what they learn about themselves by going through the process of trying to distill a story, and the act of getting on stage in front of people that you don't know and sharing something very personal and having that met with appreciation and having love and appreciation sent back to you, it overloads your circuits emotionally. A lot of us, Michelle, I think we don't even know how to feel comfortable with saying I love you to members of our family. So when we're under these lights, it's not a natural, normal thing for people to do. And to share like that, I think it's heroic. And I'm not saying that I think I'm heroic, but what happened was I started to, for instance, the first couple of months, if you go back and you look at the pictures, you'll see my hair is cropped short. I have dress pants on. My shirt's tucked in. I got the sport coat on. But if you look at April onward, you'll see a different guy. Like I remember in April, I went on stage the first time with a t-shirt. It had a collar on, but it was a t-shirt and it was untucked. And I know this sounds silly, but I felt like I was naked because I thought you can't do that, can you? So, but you could, and then it's continued to evolve and evolve and evolve up to the moment that you described a little bit earlier. And I just kind of treat it almost like my own little personal playground where I can use myself as a bit of a guinea pig / voodoo doll for other people's enjoyment, just to try to get them to see like it's okay.
Yeah,
we're okay.
you know what
it's okay.
what I see is that when you're pushing the boundaries, you're pushing the boundaries for yourself.
Yeah.
But when I'll say this, is we as speakers, what I believe we do is we model the behavior that other people aspire to or would like more of in their own lives. So when they see us taking risks, when they see us getting quote unquote naked, even if it's just to our boxers, when they see us putting ourselves out there like that, they say, yeah, I want some of that in my life. I'm just telling you that as a speaker.
Yeah, I hear myself saying to people, as a speaker, and I think just as a person in general, I'm not trying to teach you. I'm trying to reach you. I know what it feels like.
That's good. Write that down, people. Write that down. I'm not trying. That's going to be
on a t-shirt, and Michelle will wear it when we do this again. Hopefully.
Not trying to teach you. I just want to reach you. Okay.
Well, this whole I have. As you know, I can be somewhat difficult and stubborn with some of the things that I think and feel about things. And in kind of the speaking world, standing and narrating PowerPoint slides and positioning yourself as an expert doesn't resonate with me. I feel like if you have to position yourself as anything other than who you are, you're not being true to yourself. Never mind anybody in the audience. But what I've found is that that's really easy for somebody like me to say to someone else. But it takes effort, and it takes, like, why I rip a shirt that says self-doubt off my body is because I know how hard that is. like it's because I'll get one of these crazy ideas, like the time when I ran on stage with the train whistle and I knew you were coming, and I'm climbing this ladder on stage as a metaphor of the little engine going up the hill. And I'm like, how do I stimulate people's imagination to try to take them out of this pattern? And I remember thinking, gosh, I don't know, I might scare the living daylights out of Michel. He might shut this whole thing down. And I'm like, no, it was an inspiration that came from somewhere bigger than me. I downloaded it. It lit me up. So I'm like, when that happens, I try it. And, some of them work better than others, but it's really neat to see other people, like the guest that we're going to introduce here in a couple of minutes, and so many others, be inspired to go, yeah, you know what, I want to try that. And to watch what they go through and be a part of that is far more rewarding than I ever would have imagined.
So that's a perfect segue for me to ask you this question. And that is, we do this because we care about our community and the people around us, and we want to model some of that, all those values that we hold dear, authenticity, love, non-judgmental, and all of that stuff, but with a little bit of levity and fun and laughter thrown into the mix as well. All of those things, we do it for that, and we have an impact. We know we have an impact on people in the community. So give me an example of something that maybe got fed back to you, maybe by the person, somebody who was in the audience who said, wow, because of X, this happened in my life, or something. Give me an example.
We had somebody who attended our first show in February of 2019. And at that show, the story that I shared included some of the things that I've overcome. One of them was getting alcohol out of my life, which was in June of 2015.
Oh, and here I am drinking bourbon. I'm sorry.
It's
a good thing we're practicing social distancing.
Michel, I'm not trying to teach you. It was an example for me of one of the things that I knew that was an issue for me. And anyway, that wasn't what the talk was about, but it was part of it. And many months later, I heard from a young lady who had sent in an application through moMondays.com to speak, which I encourage you to do because we will be back sooner or later, ladies and gentlemen. So get your applications in now, ting. But she had been in the audience. I didn't know her. I've never heard of her before. And little did I know that she was struggling with something similar. And later told me that helped inspire her to stop. And she actually stopped that day. And then reached out to me and specifically asked that she could speak at the February event in 2020 to celebrate a year of sobriety. And she did, and she just absolutely nailed it.
Wow.
Like it was, that blows me away, just as you can tell. Because that's really meaningful. That's somebody, I'm not saying that's because of me, but if there's even a little adjacent inspiration that helps that person, that encourages them, but to make a positive change like that at all, I think is incredible. To then come a year later and go, I feel compelled to share with others so that I can now pass along my experience in the hopes that will encourage and inspire somebody else. That was those, as you know, Michel, those are moments that are difficult to describe.
So once again, you've given me the great segue for my next question, which is, and people who have seen moTV before, by the way, we're on every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we are going to be doing this until we get back to live events, after which we're going to keep doing this once a month, but not as frequent, obviously. But so you've heard me say this before. We as moHosts, I believe we've got the best seat in the house, because we literally walk the journey with the speaker, not only to the point where he or she gets on stage, but after, and weeks after sometimes, we see the change in them, because everybody thinks they know their story until they have to craft it and develop it and perform it for a room full of people. And then you peel back a few more layers that you didn't even know were there. So there's a journey there. We get to see the impact that it has on the audience, and we get to hear the chatter. I say we've got the best seat in the house because we see backstage, front stage, on stage, way more than anybody else sees. And we don't come out of it unscathed ourselves.
No.
Right? And so what I'm curious about, Kevin, is what change have you seen in yourself as a result of seeing all this go on around you as a result of moMondays?
It's helped me to see it's not about me. It kind of was when I started it. In my mind, I was a part of not that I didn't fully believe in the heart that beats through any moMondays in any city, but there were also some realities for me about having an anchor, building familiarity and practice as a speaker, building relationships with people in this community, trying to make a positive difference in the community, and all those things have happened. But I was not, when I went into it, I was not thinking about how much of an impact it would have on other people. I was thinking about the people that I thought would have interesting stories to share, and I've reached out to many of them. Many of them have since been on the stage. Some are still to come. Most of them have been quite emphatic in their surprise about stepping into something that has a much more potent energy and production to it than they thought it would. And many have also come back to me the next day or days after saying things like, "Thanks a lot, Kevin." Like I'm a blubbering mess here. Like I had no idea what that was going to do to me. That's really been a great gift. Not to make it about me, but to use myself and my own development to try to help other people see. And I call it, celebrate and share your true self and story. Like discover it, celebrate it, share it, because it's going to do things for you that you just can't imagine until you experience it.
Well said. So something else that people have heard me say if they've seen moTV before is asking a moHost to pick their favorite speaker, or one of the favorite speakers, is like asking a parent, say, well, which child do you love the most? It's a really, really unfair question to ask, but it's a question that I ask, and they all search and they all have trouble with it, and Kevin was no different. But we eventually, with my help, because we're not going to show the whole year's worth of speakers and storytellers on this show, we narrowed it down to one. So, and we're going to bring her on after the video. We're going to show a short clip, like 1 minute, 1.5 minutes of her, but just in a few words or less, who is she, and why did you pick her?
Lisa Brodeur is, and her journey and her MoMondays London experience, to me, represents everything that we're about. We connected prior to my hosting my first event, and she shared some of her own goals with me. One of them was that she wanted to challenge herself to speak before the end of that calendar year, but at that point she didn't know how that was going to happen. And I remember it was some months before she could actually attend a moMondays London event just because of work commitments on Monday nights. And I think the first one that she came to was May last year, and got immersed in the experience. We stayed in touch. We became friends. She eventually took the stage in September last year and was just magnificent.
All right. Well, the title is Your Life, Your Choice. Lisa Brodeur.
Today, standing here before you is a woman who revels in the deliciousness of her life. But it wasn't always like that. In January of 2015, not only was the weather cold and dark, but so was my heart. I was in a very bad place emotionally. I was sad and lonely. I was lost and I didn't know who I was. I somehow found the courage to leave what had become a toxic relationship. If you had told me 25 years ago that I would be living my best life with the following stats, 50 plus, single, and living alone with 2 cats, I would not have believed you. I would have told you I will not be happy with that life. Yet, here I am, reveling in the deliciousness of my life. I know that there is contrast in life. I know it can be hard or easy, hateful or loving, sad or joyful. And I remind myself every day, it's your life. You choose. Thank you.
There. Welcome, Lisa.
Hello.
Hey, what was it like to see you on the screen just now?
I just started to breathe again. It's always a little bit surprising to see yourself on the stage.
And was that, now, had you spoken on stage before?
Not in that capacity. So in my job, I do a lot of training, so I'm up in front of people, but not in the capacity where I crafted and shared my own story.
And so you heard me say to Kevin, everybody thinks they know their story until they have to craft it and share it in public. Does that describe your experience? Like you knew what you were going to say, but there were things that you discovered as you were leading up to it?
Right. So obviously I know my story because I lived it, but in the same respect, and part of this comes back to my relationship with Kevin and feeling inspired by him and having that connection to, and seeing him on stage. And I think you talked a little bit about that, or that you guys kind of model and inspire us. So imagine, like you talked a lot about him, like ripping the shirt off, and right, and he's got these great authentic messages. And so I wanted to do right by him, and I wanted my story to come across authentic and real, because it was, but I also wanted it to be laid out, not scripted per se, but I wanted it to know it and to have it laid out and for it to be linked and connected and to make sense. So I knew my story, but I had to take some time to put it together, so I could, I don't know, inspire, and I could touch people, and I could connect, and I could be authentic. But yeah, it was different than I thought.
You know, it's like, I think what I'm hearing you say is that we all know our story, but we don't necessarily know the true meaning of our story until we have to make it make sense for someone else.
Yeah, and you lived through your story. Again, I can't tell you the amount of healing I had through my story, because the amount of times I rehearsed it and listened to myself on audio, because I audio taped myself and I would listen back to it. And I presented it to a group that I was working with, and then they helped me. They were like, oh, well, what happened here? And I was like, oh yeah, like that was a missing link in my story that it's very important for the audience to know, so that there were no loose ends, so to speak.
Well, I'm so glad to hear that you rehearsed it. I can't tell you how many times people think they don't need to because they think they know their story. And all of that stuff, and you did that. People sometimes think, I know my story, I don't need to rehearse it. But we don't often realize how many pieces are either too many pieces or not enough pieces based on somebody else's listening of it.
Right.
Since you speak and you've spoken professionally before, let me ask you this question. Has anything about your experience of speaking at MoMondays made you a better professional speaker? In other words, was there anything that you were able to take from the MoMonday stage and apply it into your other speaking in a way that enhanced it, improved it, or changed it in some way?
Sure. So in my other role, it's always curriculum. So I'm not necessarily just speaking. So I've done that for a very long time. And again, it is very different than sharing your own personal story. So what I took away most from sharing my own personal story is the desire to connect and reach people through my story, to help them understand their stories and the stories they're telling themselves, to then choose a different life. But of course, even the rehearsing part and knowing what my curriculum is in my professional life. But again, that authenticity, what I'm teaching usually is parenting strategies. So that authenticity and that connection, and how important that is. So and also just gave me some confidence in a different way to continue. But yeah, it certainly supports me professionally, but I also have a side business where I'm a life coach. And so I think that is where it's really propelled me to want to actually maybe even step away from just coaching one person to get in front of a group of people and connect with a group of people, because there's something really beautiful that you see at moMondays London. And I know when I've seen speakers on stage and they've used words that have touched me, I've gone up to them and I've made connections with them. They're people that I have lunch with now. And the same as after I got off the stage. And
Wait a minute. You don't have lunch with them now, do you?
Yeah.
During lockdown?
Oh, no, not today. No. Oh, stop. Of course not. I'm a rule follower, so of course not. But there are connections I've made. And then in the same respect, when I was on our break after I spoke, people just came up and just hugged me. Not today either. So check on your hugging friends. They're not okay. I'm not okay. So I was just embraced with this connection and love of people that in some way my story touched. And I might not ever know what ripple effect that has for them, but I trust that there was something, because I know each time I hear somebody speak, there's a ripple for me.
Yeah. So how would you describe your own change, or the Lisa after having spoken at MoMondays and the Lisa versus the Lisa before? You know, how would you describe? I mean, you're still the same person, but there's something that's a little bit different.
Well, there was a sense of inspiration and also like a kickstart to do more, a kickstart to share more, a kickstart to connect more. Yeah, so same but different. And also in terms of what holds most of us back is our self-doubt, like Kevin said, and our lack of confidence in ourselves. And I know I can connect with people and I know I can speak, but it was just a different way to do it. And it gave me the confidence to know. And the feedback I got, I think I spent the whole next morning crying.
That's inspirational. Thank you.
It is inspirational because it touches a part of you that needs to be sort of exposed to understand the gifts that you bring to the table. So yeah, absolutely, it's a good thing. Kevin checked in because he knew, because he knows what it's like, and yeah, so it was incredibly opening. Opening would be the best word I could use if I had to say one word.
Well, that's cool. Let's bring Kevin back on the show. Kevin, if you haven't left the room, yay, he's back. So you've just been listening to Lisa. How does that make you feel as a person who like put it together?
Well, it's great. I don't know if I could say that I put it together.
Well, you did. Listen. Was Lisa one of those people that you know? We all have them as moHosts. We all have them. You notice somebody, you tap them on the shoulder, and you say, "I know you've got a story."
Yeah, I think what Lisa was just sharing, it's really a beautiful thing to experience and to watch other people experience, is that we're all carrying things around inside us that we don't even necessarily understand how much maybe they're affecting us. And when we bring that outside of us, it tends to lose its power over us. And there's a release of that I think hints at what Lisa, maybe you were describing with, the next morning, and just maybe that's where the tears come from. But it's amazing to me, both how much that can sort of free up a certain part, like you said, Lisa, an opening, a kind of a releasing of things that we didn't even realize that we were holding on to, while simultaneously drawing in this really genuine connection with other people that I don't know about the two of you, but I often had felt prior to this that there were things about me that I would never reveal to other people, because I would think that they view me as some sort of a flawed freak.
You mean like your boxer shorts?
Among many other things, absolutely. But I find that just when you share something that's real, it has the opposite effect from pushing people away. It actually seems to draw us closer. There seems to be a sense of like, okay, so I'm not the only one who feels that way. I'm not the only one who wonders about, how am I doing, or, and it's pretty neat.
Well, listen, I think we're going to wrap up the show, but before we do, I'm going to throw this out to Kevin. First of all, Kevin, thank you. I think, Lisa, can you please turn to Kevin and say thank you? He's on this side. Or
I feel like I'm on the Brady Bunch.
Yeah,
wait,
just
pretend
pretend you're turning to him. I don't know, whatever. No, for me, he's on this side, yeah.
He's trying to get us to do a Brady Bunch.
Yeah, something like that, yeah. but we did not rehearse this. Um,
You're losing control, Michelle.
yeah, I know.
We're starting to sing.
Kevin, I'm sorry, sir. Turn to Kevin and say, Kevin, thank you for inspiring me.
Oh, okay, thank you. That's what I was asking for. Kevin, I know you've got people to thank. There are people who are very close to you, who are very involved in moMondays month after month, and they are just, all of us, by the way, every moHost, we've got that tight knit of support group. So I think there are at least a couple of people you can say thank you to.
Oh, the super team, the family. That's what I miss the most. My sweet Caroline, we could do a whole hour just on how I wasn't expecting that was going to draw us even closer, and our relationship, our partnership of growing the community together. She's the face that people see when they come in the front door, and that's just been definitely one of the biggest joys. And she actually took the stage at our last event before the lockdown, and what an experience that was. And Lisa, you jumped into where Caroline was, so that's so neat. Melissa, who is our photographer, who is our eyes that shows what we do to the rest of the world, how she captures the energy of those moments is beyond me. Brendan Culleton, the Mystic Spider-Man, who's our videographer, who has been kind of pulling me through this lockdown he's an incredible content creator on his own. I followed him into TikTok, which is, I'm treating it like a creative punching bag.
Oh, I saw one of your TikTok shows. Yeah, your TikTok videos.
Well, I'm missing the creative outlet of moMondays. And this is helping me with that. And Brendan is such a huge inspiration to me. As you know, Eddie, my son, ran the sound for the first year. He has now gone on to other things where he has his own job and other commitments. And another family friend, Noah, who is just a year or so younger than Eddie, has been at the Switch the last couple of months, and that's been just such a joy beyond description. And Pete and Janice, who own the London Music Club. It's just a joy to be around those people.
Very cool. All right, Kevin, people want to hear more, find out more about you. They could do it because you do an awesome blog at No Schedule Man. No Schedule Man.
Yeah, you're doing really well so far. .com, and you're all good. If
Thank
you can remember the term No Schedule Man and you have access to the internet, I am frighteningly easy to find on all channels.
That's awesome. And Lisa, where can people find out more about you?
If you go to Facebook and you look up Gazelle Gatherings, you can find me there.
How do you spell that?
Gezellig, Gazelle Gatherings.
Okay. We're going to save the backstory of that name for another show. Cool. I want to thank you both for being on the show.
Thank you.
I want to thank you for joining us at moTV. So you've already seen this t-shirt. What you may not know is that we have t-shirts of our own. And yes, you can get a t-shirt, a hoodie, a zip-up, and I think we're also preparing moMondays branded, I'm doing this, I haven't said what it is yet, moMondays branded face masks. Yes, absolutely. Go to momondays.com. Along the top, you will see something called moStore. Yeah, I know. moStore. And click that. Take a look. That's our store. You'll see t-shirts. You'll see hoodies. You'll see the whole bit. And we're going to be back next week. We're going to Belleville, moMondays Belleville. So hope you're around for that. Thank you very much. And have a great, great week.